Welcome to NFL Daily. On today's show, training camp battles. I'm Harrison Graham. He's Tom Downey. Let's do the NFC, Tom. You put all these together. I'm going to guide the ship here. Let's start with the Chicago Bears. Very obvious here. It's quarterback, and I've outlined this on Bears Now, by the way.
I intentionally started with the most obvious training camp battle in the NFC.
And the NFL.
I think the NFL,
if we're
too.
being honest. Look, it's Foles versus Trubisky. Everybody wants to know. And I outlined this on a recent Bears Now video. I'm starting to lean towards Trubisky because I think the lack of a preseason and a lack of off-season reps, if you will,
off-season,
favors the guy who's been the starter the past 2.5 years. That's just my opinion.
I do agree.
So who will start? Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky, NF for Nick Foles, MT for Trubisky. Go ahead and give your 2 cents as well there.
I think by the end of the year, this will be Nick Foles' job. I think that the way the Bears also did his contract to free up money this year, I thought was kind of weird. I also think it was a very clear sign this organization does not believe in Trubisky, which is not great for GM pace either. But I think week 1, I think you might be right that it's Trubisky. End of the year, I think it's going to be Nick Foles.
That's a good way to go here. By the way, we're going by division here, so the NFC North continues with the Detroit Lions. You went linebacker here, Tom.
Yeah, Jarrad Davis pretty clearly not a long-term part of this organization going forward. They declined his 5th-year option. Jelani Tavai, a second-round pick last year by Detroit, ended up playing similar reps. Tavai was a backup for most of the year. Davis battled some injuries. I was more impressed with Tavai. And as a rookie, you would expect year 2, another step forward. Look, the tackles and tackles for loss numbers are pretty similar, but I saw better play in coverage out of Tavai. Okay. And in 2020, that's what matters. So I would not be surprised if Tavai ends up taking away that job full-time from Davis this year.
Next up here on our NFC training camp battles, the Green Bay Packers. And they didn't really address wide receiver in the offseason. They got their number 1 guy. Who's kind of filling out that number 2, number 3 role in Green Bay?
Some of these battles are just one spot. Green Bay's case, though, it's really 2 to 3 spots because you obviously have Adams, going to be your number 1. Wide receiver 2 and 3, is it Kumaro? Does EQ St. Brown get on the field? Is Devin Funchess finally going to capitalize on
a little bit?
Being the Devin Funchess people hoped for? Does Alan Lazard continue to show growth? It's an awkward spot for Green Bay. They're very clearly banking on some of those young guys taking a big-time step forward.
How about the Minnesota Vikings here? Dalvin Cook versus the front office. Is that the direction you're going here?
Different training camp battle here. Not what you guys were expecting. We'll know pretty soon if Cook's actually going to hold out. My suspicion, he's not going to. Either A, the Vikings will get a long-term deal done, or B, Cook will realize I'm an RB. I can't afford to be skipping out on basically my salary because of fines that cannot be replaced anymore.
Also, this is, for several reasons, the worst year to try and hold out.
Yes, it is.
Due to the coronavirus and due to the new CBA, which every day you miss, you're just losing a ton of money. So,
would you pay him Derrick Henry money, $12.5 per year? Would you do that exact same deal?
I think I might. I actually thought that was a good deal for Tennessee.
I kind of thought it was too.
I thought it was a good deal. Look, if you can get tier 1 running backs at 10 to 13, I think you do that. I think that's more valuable than paying a slightly better guy 17 per year or something like that. So what should Minnesota do with Dalvin Cook? We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. You can go ahead, cast your votes down there. Pinned comment, first comment in the comment section. Type P for pay, type T for trade, or type W for wait. The Dallas Cowboys up next as we move to the NFC East in our training camp battle segment here. Cornerback, and this is for pretty much every role.
Yeah, because you would think Awuzie is going to be the number 1 option, but there's been whispers moving him to safety. Probably not now with the very awkward offseason, so maybe that's one spot. They're hoping Trevon Diggs can be the outside corner number 2. Maybe it's Darryl Worley, but if those guys struggle, do you go with both Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, and you let those guys battle for nickel anyway?
I kind of wonder, too, does a guy like Diggs' development get slowed due to the lack of, no rookie minicamp, no OTAs, I kind of think a guy like Darryl Worley, who's not great, but very experienced, might get, be your week 1 starter at least at one of those spots, which not what you're looking for if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. They've signed Jalen Reagor, the rookie. That's good news for them. What's going to happen there, though? Is Alshon Jeffrey going to be healthy week 1? Deshaun Jackson, is he going to be on the team? It's kind of a mess in Philadelphia.
I don't think Jeffrey's healthy week 1. Maybe he comes back later on in the year. Regardless, Philly's banking on a lot of new faces making a big-time impact for this team. Your boy, Jalen Reagor, one of them. Deshaun Jackson was hurt most of last year, so I'm going to count him as a new face. Marquise Goodwin comes in a trade. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside didn't make an impact whatsoever last year. Maybe this is his year. He's still got some first-year players in John Hightower, Quez Watkins. You're banking on like a bunch of lottery picks, hoping maybe one or two hit.
Yeah, and you don't want a rookie to have to come in and feel like he's got to be your top guy.
Yeah.
Especially when, again, the preseason is basically waxed. And, for Jalen Reagor to come in, you don't want him to be forced into that number one guy. So, not great there in Philadelphia. But who will lead the Eagles in receiving? That is a different question. I could see it being Reagor because he doesn't have the injury concerns.
You fool.
He doesn't have the injury.
You fool. You forgot about Zach Ertz. There we
whatever.
go. Because the tight ends are awesome for Philadelphia,
Yeah,
so you don't need a number one receiver per se because you can utilize that tight end, but that does impact the rest of the offense. So it's going to be Ertz, but they would like a receiver to step up sooner than later.
For you Eagles fans and all NFL fans, we got jerseys on sale for $80. Some are even less than that at chatsports.com/jersey deal. You can get your Carson Wentz jersey, get your Tampa Bay Bucks Tom Brady jersey, several others as well at chatsports.com/jersey deal. $80. Some are even less than that, Tom.
Yeah, and tell you what, they've even got some new jerseys as well, which I find pretty interesting for those, for like Bucks and Rams and Falcons and all of those. So, hey, speaking of the Giants, by the way, Harrison, we're next up here.
Well, they got a lot of defensive linemen, so let's talk pass rusher position here.
Well, the defensive line, great shape. The actual edge rusher spot, I don't know about that. You're hoping Lorenzo Carter has a breakout year, and/or O'Shane Ximenez has a breakout year. You added Kyler Fackrell, who's a year removed from a inflated and deceptive 10.5 sack season. But that pass rushing unit does not strike fear into the hearts of men.
Yeah, they got 14 defensive tackles. The problem is...
one step closer to Dave Gettleman's dream of having a defense only of defensive tackles.
Yeah, the problem is those guys aren't bouncing outside and getting after the quarterback. So we'll see if they can generate some pressure off the edge there. These are some of the guys who will be competing for those roles. The Washington shrug shoulders running back. They have a lot of them.
Yeah, Washington's in a really weird spot at the running back position because they've got too many options.
And no great options.
And you've got passable options, which I guess that's maybe not the best term to use there, but that's okay. You have Adrian Peterson, who is old but still producing. I want to believe in Darius Geis. I think you do as well, right? We want him to be good.
He's entering Devontae Parker territory, but
Parker
finally got there.
He
finally got there.
I think Antonio Gibson is almost going to be just a receiver for them.
Yeah, he's kind of a hybrid.
You spent a 4th-round pick on Bryce Love last year, and who knows what his health status actually is. Then you signed Peyton Barber and J.D. McKissick.
Who are career rotation guys.
That's 6 guys. You're not going to carry 6 backs. So who starts, who gets the carries, and then who just makes the team?
I brought this theory up before the show. A team needs a running back. They trade Adrian Peterson for a late round.
We've done that before. Cardinals.
Do it again. The Redskins aren't winning this year.
Hey,
the Washington team is not winning it this year. So I could see they can't keep 6, like you said.
There's no way.
What you can do is subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. Look, we go live every Monday and Wednesday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Pacific. We like to do it. We go live for breaking news stories as well. You got to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you never, ever miss one of our videos. Just hit that big red sub button right below the video. It's very, very easy. NFC West here. Let's go to right tackle for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, there weren't many great options, truly, for Arizona. Maybe some receiver battles, but I think for the most part the rotation is kind of clear there. Right tackle, though, got some intrigue very recently for Arizona because they signed Kelvin Beachum. Now, my suspicion is he's going to be the swing tackle this year because he's mostly played left.
That's a valuable swing tackle.
With a little bit of right. Now, they signed DJ Humphries, so he's going to start at one spot. Then at right tackle, you've got Marcus Gilbert, who was the starter and then got hurt. You just signed Kelvin Beachum. You drafted Josh Jones in round 3 to be a long-term starter somewhere on that offensive line, probably tackle. And then you had Justin Murray last year who wasn't good. So probably not him, but you've got a legitimate, potentially 4-person battle for a starting spot on an offensive line that has to do a better job of protecting young franchise quarterback Kyler Murray.
So pick a right tackle. Who's going to start for the Cardinals there? Is it going to be Gilbert? Is it going to be Beachum, Josh Jones, or Murray there? MG for Gilbert, KB for Beachum, JJ J for Jones, and then JM for Murray. Go ahead and cast your votes down below. The San Francisco 49ers are up next here on our training camp battles for the NFC. Richard Sherman's got one cornerback spot locked down, but cornerback 2 has been a popular discussion dating back to last season, Tom, between Ahkello Witherspoon and Emmanuel Mosley.
Not, by the way, nickel corner. Quan Williams is great in that role. Outside corner 2, you were right. It was Ahkello to start the year, and then he got benched. And Emmanuel Mosley took over. And
played well.
He played very well. And although the completion percentage and the yards is pretty similar, it's the touchdowns that matter here. Yep. When Witherspoon got beat, he got beat bad. Yep. And it was ugly. Mosley got beat, as all corners do, but it wasn't nearly as impactful or as backbreaking to the defensive lines or defense was. So I think Mosley's the favorite there, but hey, Witherspoon does have some talent still.
It's also what do you value more from your number 2 corner? Low risk, high reward, like a Marcus Peters type, or do you like kind of the safer guy there?
Problem is, neither of them was the high reward.
Yeah, they don't get enough interceptions, so I think Mosley might be the answer there. Los Angeles Rams next up here. Who the hell knows who their running back's going to be?
You're right. It's not Todd Gurley. I can tell you that much with certainty here. So you've got 3 options in the end for LA, and maybe it's only 2. Cam Akers, who they drafted early this past year. They also drafted Darrell Henderson fairly early, and they gave a sizable enough contract to Malcolm Brown.
Which is so weird.
So I don't think it's Brown. I think he's going to be the third back and maybe ends up being like the backup if Henderson continues to struggle. Who's RB1 for this organization, Harrison?
I think they're hoping long-term it's Akers because otherwise they wouldn't have drafted him because they like Darrell Henderson.
You can make the exact same comment about Darrell Henderson. Like if you thought it was going to be him, you drafted him early.
But why draft Akers a year after Henderson?
Exactly.
That's my thought.
I think you're right. I think it's CA for Cam Akers. If you guys disagree, type DH for Darrell Henderson, MB for Malcolm Brown. But I think Akers is the guy. I also suspect it's going to be a rotation next year.
Seattle Seahawks training camp battles here. Cornerback number 2/3 here, Tom. What are you looking at this cornerback position up in Seattle?
Kind of cheating, so my non-apologies, because I'm just going to, it's my show, it's fine. Shaquill Griffin is a locked-in starter. That's one of the guys. It was supposed to be Quinton Dunbar as the number 2, either outside in base or even potentially at nickel in nickel sets. The issue is Quinton Dunbar is in legal trouble, and who knows what his long-term status is. And the other top corner on the roster who started last year was Trey Flowers, who, I'm just going to be honest, wasn't very good.
Yeah, 66%
made some plays, but got beat a lot. So maybe Trey Flowers is the second answer there behind Quinton Dunbar. I am very intrigued by Ugo Amadi, who was kind of a nickel corner at times last year. Now, Seattle, quick note, used more base defense, that's 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, and the 4 defensive backs, than any other team in the NFL by a significant margin last year.
AKA non-nickel.
Non-nickel. They just used that normal defense that was very popular back when the NFL didn't throw it every other play. But for Seattle, you got to find a nickel. You have to, because the Cardinals are still going to spread you out, and you don't want linebackers on them. It'll work better against San Francisco. Maybe the Rams, probably not. So is it Amadi? Is it one of those other guys on the roster? A Stevens? Do they play maybe Marquise Blair at nickel at times? I would be open to that idea.
Do they sign somebody?
They got to figure out, especially if they don't have confidence in Quinton Dunbar being on the roster the entire year. That's dangerous for them. So even if we include Dunbar as CB2, you got to find a CB3.
So who is that CB3 going to be for the Seahawks? Let me know in the comments section. Let us know. Is it going to be Amadi? Is it going to be someone else? Maybe it's someone who's not on the roster. Go ahead and cast your votes in the comments section. We also got Stronger Together gear for you guys. T-shirts, hoodies available. Chatsports.com/strong. You Seahawks fans, you can get this one right here.
Man.
It's a quality T-shirt. I know Mitchell Renz is a big fan of these shirts. He's got one for his Las Vegas Raiders. Chatsports.com/strong. We got women's tees available as well. We'll put that link in the comments. Put it in the description. Available for all 32 NFL teams. It's chatsports.com/strong. Put that link in the comments. Atlanta Falcons here, cornerback. Lots of NFC teams in your mind have question marks at the cornerback.
Yeah, we're going to get to another one here to end the show. I am concerned about Atlanta's cornerbacks because they're banking on A.J. Terrell probably being a week 1 starter. They have Isaiah Oliver and Kendall Sheffield and a bunch of guys no one outside of Atlanta has ever heard of. That's not going to work against the Bucs. That's not going to work.
Yeah, and your number one guy is a guy that's got limited reps. He was already an overdraft in my eyes.
Roasted by Jamar Chase.
Not great for the Falcons.
Now he gets Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
A lot of people view them as a sleeper team, but if you're giving up 35
they
points
need
per
some
game,
breakouts.
Yeah, it's not going to be
corner.
great. Speaking of the Bucs, running back, what is Tampa doing there? Ronald Jones, to me, not really an RB1.
Flashes of greatness from Ronald Jones, and maybe this is the year for you Rojo truthers out there, but they did take Keyshawn Vaughn in round 3. Now, I suspect committee approach, Harrison, but one of them will be the quote-unquote lead back.
And who's the guy that Brady can dump it off to? Because that's we know that's a big part of his offense, especially later in his career. T.J. Logan's maybe the guy. Who will lead the Bucs in rushing this season? I think Ronald Jones is the safe answer there.
I think,
and it might be for about 500 yards.
And it might not be by much. So I think you're spot on there, Harris.
Next up is the New Orleans Saints. Look, you got Michael Thomas. Who do you guys? Emmanuel, I forget Sanders. Is Traquan Smith that wide receiver 3? Maybe.
They're kind of banking on it, I think, looking at that depth chart. Now, what you will see, I think you'll, of course, Alvin Kamara's going to be in the passing game. Duh.
Yep.
I think they'll use Ty Montgomery,
tight end.
A back there. You've got Taysom Hill you'll use in the passing game as a tight end, H-back, do-it-all athlete there. I think they're hoping it's Traquan Smith. Yep. Maybe Austin Carr. They want to get Deontay Harris more involved. Tommy Lee Lewis is on the roster. Lil Jordan Humphrey, all name team is on the team as well. Who's the third? If it's not Smith, maybe they go back for a receiver in free agency. They did like Des Bryant not that long ago.
The Carolina Panthers are also another team that has cornerback question marks.
Yeah, James Bradbury gone. I'm excited to see Dante Jackson get to be the lead corner, although that's going to be dangerous. They brought in Raider great Eli Apple, and then it's like guys like Corn Elder and 4th-round pick Troy Pride Jr. That's a little bit dicey for Carolina. And I'm concerned again, NFC South. How are you going to stop Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Julio Jones? That's a lot to ask those young corners. That's a whole lot to ask.
Yeah, and they got a lot of question marks on this roster. Clearly a little bit of a rebuild here for Carolina.